Welcome back. And in today's video I have this, a 981 Boxster GTS. And I'm going to be telling you why, if you are going to be spending any money on a Porsche, why I think this could be the best place to spend it. Let's have a quick walk around the car, show you a few features, and then we'll get out on the road. Let's go. Alright, so let's start off with a quick walk around the car just before we get it out on the road. I'm going to start off by saying what is a GTS. And this car is actually from a time where GTS meant something a little bit different to what it means now. So what GTS is now, it means you're probably getting a different type of engine, being with the T-Hybrid GTS or the 4-litre GTS that you get over the 4-cylinder when it comes to Boxsters and Caymans. But back when this car came out in 2013, a GTS actually was almost a cost-saving exercise. What it is it's a S, or it's an S of whatever model you're getting, with every performance option ticked and a little bit extra power, all put in one package that is cheaper than what you would get if you were to spec all of these options individually. So really, this is more of a bargain Porsche than a premium one, if you want to think about it that way. But we'll do a quick walk around the outside. So what you get with the GTS is you get these slightly different intakes here. They're not quite GT4, but they're a little bit more aggressive than the S, which I think sort of sums up this car. It's a little bit more than the S, but not going crazy track spec like a GT4. This one is finished in sapphire metallic, I believe, and it is on some 20-inch Carrera wheels. So these are the same ones that you'll get on the 911, with just here a small GTS sticker decal, which is quite subtle, I think. If it was mine, I'd have something a bit louder on there. So it comes with the bigger brakes as standard, and also it's got a slightly more aggressive diffuser type rear bumper thing here. So and those are the main exterior differences, and it does sit just a little bit lower than your usual S. So no need for coilovers or springs, but as you can see just from looking down this line, you could probably do some spaces on this. But anyway, coming into the interior of the car, you can see that it's finished in this cream and dark brown sort of two colours, which for GTS is actually quite rare, because more often than not people spec these up to be like a GT4. Maybe they couldn't get an allocation at the time. So you see a lot of these with bucket seats, Alcantara or Race Tex, suede dashboards and carbon fibre everywhere. This is sort of done in a touring spec, I guess you could say, which is a little bit more road car, which I think fits this car perfectly, because you're not taking this on the track, and I think that is what this car is. It is a perfect road car. Let's get on the road and take it for a drive. The main thing I want to talk about in this car is why I think it represents the best value for money you can get in a Porsche. So with these you can pick them up anywhere between, for a ropey one, maybe high miles, £35,000, and for a pristine condition with all the options on, you may even be looking into the 50s. But for that, what are you getting? You're getting a 3.4 from the Boxster S that has been retuned to give just a little bit more extra horsepower. Nowhere near what you get in a GT4, but it's plenty to get you down the road. And more importantly, it makes all the right noises. With this being a 981, an early car, 2013, it doesn't have any particulate filters that you might find in the more recent cars, which means that noise that you're getting from the exhaust is so much more raw than the Boxsters, Caymans, or even 911s that I've put out today. With that, you get all those burbles and crackles when you lift off and when you downshift, which just adds to the theatre of the car. I'm going to talk about some of the main reasons why I think you should buy this car over anything else. And yeah, of course, number one, that exhaust. Or, I mean, I'm just going through a village now in a second, and as I lift off, you get all sorts of pops and crackles. It's easy enough to turn off because it is a little bit ASBO, but Not getting a noise like that from any Porsche they're putting out today. Another advantage of these 981s is when you do compare them to the 718s and the fact that most 718s now come with a PDK gearbox, which is a great gearbox and loved by many. But if you want a driver's car for the road, you can't beat a manual, especially with the auto blips that this car has. I'm having a much better time than I would if I were just pulling paddles or letting it do it for me. And with this only having, I say only, around 330 horsepower, I can really enjoy going through those gears a lot more than having something with 400 horsepower. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the styling of the car. This, compared to the 987, it leaps and bounds ahead. This looks like a car that they could be making now, especially with a personal plate on it. You wouldn't know how old it is. Sit this next to a 718 and your average viewer wouldn't know the age difference between them. Fair enough, the 718 looks slightly more muscular, which may be a plus or a minus depending on your eye, but I think this is one of the best looking generations of Boxster you can get. And another huge plus that comes in with this generation of GTS is, as I said, you can get them for around 35 to 40, 45,000 pounds, which compared to a 718 GTS, to get something of this with a similar prowess of this car, you're going to have to be spending 60, 70, maybe even 80,000 pounds. And I've driven this car to one or two of the Porsche meets, and this definitely fits in with the big hitters of the more modern 911s. And I'll tell you one thing, they weren't losing me down the back roads. Another reason why I think this is the best value for money, specifically a Boxster GTS, is when you compare it to the rest of the Porsche lineup. Compared to a Cayman, Caymans for some reason always have a premium over Boxsters, which I think Porsche is the only brand where the convertible option is cheaper than the hardtop. But compared to a Cayman, I'd want to have the roof down every day. And when you put this up against other 911s, it blends in. Whereas when I attend shows and get talking to people with really nice cars, in my 987, I always feel slightly inferior. That's just an insecurity of mine. 987s are very good cars. But what 911 you getting for 35 to 40,000 pounds? You're probably getting an early 991 or a late 997. So it's either you go for an older car or something that's quite ropey and probably not very well spec'd. Whereas this has got everything on it. I'm going to get on to some negatives here that these cars do face. So negative number one is the power of it. 330 horsepower doesn't sound like a lot compared to modern standards. I mean, your average hot hatch has more power than that and will probably be quite a bit quicker. But I think people that say this isn't fast, one, might not have driven it, or two, don't really get it. You don't need that much power to have fun on the roads. I mean, there we go, we're in fourth gear and we're going just a touch above the speed limit, so I'll back off a bit. The next negative that I'm going to get onto is something that has plagued Boxsters for as long as they've been made, really, and that is the gearing. People say this is something that's been engineered by Porsche to restrict the Boxster. By having these long gears, you're not rowing through it, and it doesn't make it as fast as the equivalent 911. And I think that was made more prevalent in this 981 generation when the chassis was actually as good as the 991. They did have to pin it back with those longer gears. But I think people that make too much of a fuss about that will be on the internet and probably don't have one. With the amount of torque from this engine, you don't feel the need to rev it out all the time. I mean, I'm in fifth gear doing 50 miles an hour, put my foot down and it starts going. So I don't feel like the whole gearing thing, yeah, it might be nicer to have slightly lower gears, but it's not a make or break. I don't think it's a reason to be put off buying one of these. And that sentiment carries on to the next negative, which is the steering. When this came out, of course, Porsche owners, they always want to complain about the new thing. Water cooling of the engine, bringing out the Boxster being not a proper Porsche. And now this, the hydraulic steering has gone to electric, which if you were to read anything on the internet, in the forums, they will all say, but the feeling is gone, and with that is taken with it the driving pleasure. Solely because in the 987s you do feel everything that's going on underneath you. In this, fair enough, you're not feeling the wheel squirm around in your hands as much. But I don't feel disconnected from the drive. I don't feel like I'm driving this down the telephone. I do feel like I can put the car anywhere on the road. It's very responsive, and if anything, it makes it feel more refined, that my hands aren't getting jiggled around with every curve and camber of the road. So I wouldn't be put off by electric steering at all. And the last thing that I can see people complaining about this is solely the infotainment, which is slightly dated. It's still got a CD player, and I mean, who uses CDs these days? But it's got everything you could want. It's got cruise control. There is a way somehow to sync your phone up to play music out of there. Fair enough, the sat nav is incredibly outdated and just wouldn't be worth using, but just use your phone for that and mount it on the dash. But what more bells and whistles do you want than that, really? You don't want lane assist or any of this. And scrolling through, I've got basic trip information and a G meter, just the essentials. So that has been my quick rundown of why I think the 981 GTS is the best value for money Porsche you can buy today. Anyway, my name's Will. Drop us a subscribe, and yeah, catch you next time.